What up, scallywags? Getting ready to head over to the east side. Eastbound and down. Solly, hey Solly, I need you to take care of Mama while I'm gone, okay? You're the man of the house. You're the man of the house. Can you run those out real quick for me? Here's the keys. A couple. I gotta get my knife and.
Let me take this too.
No. Why don't you leave that there? My phone's rusting on it. I love you. I gotta get my knives. Since I can't carry a gun. She's got a gun, but she has to keep it locked up in a safe because I'm a convicted felon. There are some things you can do. If you have felonies after so many years, you can get your record exhumed, an exemption, but I can't because one of my crimes is violent. Well, I've got a lot of violent crimes, but my one felony is a violent crime. A guy punched my buddy's wife in the face, and I took some steel-toed boots to his head. And while what he did was wrong, my way of dealing with it was wrong also. I could have just subdued him and not kept going on him like I did. It just, I'm not going to make excuses for it. It was wrong. First they were talking maybe attempted murder. Then they were talking going with heinous battery, Class X, 6 to 30 years in the state of Illinois because what happened was I had crushed his orbital socket and his eyeball was hanging out of his head. Thank God they got his eyeball back in. A buddy of mine, Bobby, saw him about 7, 8 years ago, and he said, dude ain't right. To this day, he's just not right. He got messed up pretty bad. Was he right hitting Debbie? No, he was wrong, but I wasn't right in the brutality that I responded with on him. When the police were trying to arrest me, they were beating the hell out of me while I was trying to pop his eyeball, punching him in the face. And it kept going left, right. It was hanging from I don't even know how to describe it, like an umbilical cord kind of. But it wasn't right the way I dealt with that. I could have stopped him and dealt with it differently. I made the punishment much worse than the crime. And it was wrong. So I'm not going to make excuses for it. I love you. Give me a kiss. I got to get going. I'll go get my knife and get out of here. I'll see you in a little bit. Solly, you're the man of the house. You got to look out for Mama, okay? 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 This dog's crazy. There's this Alpha and Omega shows. They're like animated. The damn dog will sit there and watch them. Watch the whole show. And then whenever something's going on exciting, he'll jump up and run up and lift up his front paws and put them on that table and start barking at TV. I never seen a dog watch TV like that. But is that what you're putting in for him now?
I am, yeah.
The Alpha
This one really gets
he loves the Alpha and the Omega.
This one has the squirrel in it.
I thought you're always a step
That's
ahead.
his happiness,
The price of
man.
your plan won't go up for 3 years.
I would show it to you what it is, but YouTube might give me a hard time about copyright, so I can't do that. Let me get that knife so I can get moving. Johnny's waiting on me. I'm gonna go buy Shane's and then I'll probably go buy Brother Bobby's too.
Here comes your show.
All right, give me this. See, he's barking at TV already. I love you. Is that a squirrel, Sully?
Oh.
Is that a squirrel there? Yeah, I want to show you guys this. Harvey made this for me. Harvey Talks Prison. He does leather work. And it says, then I got the wolf head belt buckle.
Go get your chair. Go get your chair.
Go ahead, babe. I got it. Oh, that's right. Will you take this? They're chasing that squirrel, Solly. He gets all excited. He loves the Alpha and Omega.
Yeah, I can't play this one at bedtime. I'm so excited.
Get that squirrel. He loves that damn show. Whenever it's not something exciting, right now they're chasing the squirrel, so he's all excited. But when they get done chasing the squirrel and everything, he'll sit down and he'll just sit there and watch it. And there's a female wolf in the show. Whenever she's getting chased by bears or something, he gets wound up. I've never seen a dog watch TV like that. I mean, not just for a second. He'll sit there and just watch it. Like like a kid or something, like he knows what they are. I ain't gonna bring my vest. Not on my bike, it'll look stupid. I wear my leather, but not my vest. Look at that dog. That wolf's climbing a tree, Solly.
What the heck? That's right.
How's he climbing that tree?
His name is Ron.
He's a runt,
He's
huh?
almost got the squirrel.
Got my knife. Weapon of choice, butterfly knife. Whenever I was a kid, that was my spinner right there. I gotta go. Give me a kiss. I love you. I'll see you when I get back.
We'll be here.
I won't be gone long.
Okay.
Just as long as it takes. I'll probably swing by Bobby's because we get the door. Because
That's fine. We're just working hustle.
since he got off the dope, he don't get as many visitors anymore since he quit drinking and shit. I love you too. Do I got the keys?
They're already in the car.
Oh. Damn, already in the car. I'll have to scoot that seat back. Her little tiny legs, man. Hold on. I gotta turn that radio off. Don't want no copyright strikes.
Dr. Simovitz at Viagra or Cialis let you down? Paramount Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Eastbound and down. Coffee there.
Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 314.
Turn that off. They get it almost every night. When that moon is big and bright. A supernatural delight. Okay, see if I can put it in here. This thing never wants to hold it though, the way it's supposed to. It always wants to twist, but I guess it's better than driving with my hands. Well, keep your eyes on the road. There. That'll work. Your hands upon the wheel. Oh, shit. That movie, that song Roadhouse by The Doors, it reminds me of the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze in it. And that reminds me of a small town here in Missouri. I think that's partially what they made that movie Roadhouse about. In the movie Roadhouse, you got that guy that's like a town bully, extorting everybody. And at the end of the movie, 3 guys get together, 3 guns, and they end up shooting and killing the guy. And everybody, did you see what happened? Nope. Did you see what happened? Nope. And then that one guy goes, a polar bear fell on me. But there's a town in Missouri called Skidmore. If you look up on YouTube, they got a documentary about it. It's called The Bully of Skidmore. This guy was a real piece of work. He was dating one woman and ended up marrying her daughter when her daughter was like 15 years old. Had shot a couple people. Just a big bully is what he was. And every time he would get in some legal trouble, he'd get a lawyer, get out of it. And when I say this is a small town, Skidmore, Missouri is a town that right on the, like a little north of Kansas City, right on the border of Kansas and Missouri. And this town's so small, if you blink too long going through it, you'll miss the town. But he was shot and killed, broad daylight, very center of that small town, in front of a bar, while he was sitting in his truck. And forensics and autopsies showed that there was 3 guns used in his murder. So 3 different people shot him at the same time. And nobody in that town knows what happened. They even, during the documentary I saw, they asked the town preacher, "Do you know who shot him?" And the town preacher said, "Nope." And the guy interviewing him said, "If you knew, would you say who shot him?" And he said, "Nope." That's small town Missouri justice right there. Nobody would do anything about what he was doing. The law had failed them many times, and this guy was an incomparable ass. But he ended up getting gunned down broad daylight in the middle of that town. And to this day, this is back in the late 60s, early 70s, I'm wanting to say. And to this day, nobody knows who killed the bully of Skidmore. We know there was 3 people. You don't, well, I guess somebody could have a rifle in one hand, pistol in the other, but I doubt it. There were 3 weapons used to kill him, none of which were ever recovered. In that town, if they don't know how to do nothing, they know how to keep their mouth shut, because to this day, nobody has said a word. His last name, I want to say, was McElroy. Alan McElroy, I think, was his name. But come on, you got the right of way, you fucking God, you're gonna cost me the like, man. Oh well, I made it. See, it ain't that big of a deal, Mark. Stay calm. But yeah, Bully of Skidmore. And all that's because I heard the Doors Roadhouse going on the radio. That reminded me of the movie, and that reminded me of the Bully of Skidmore. Because I do think that's what they took the movie off of, got the idea for it. Nobody knows. There's people, you can bet that whole damn town knows who killed the man. But ain't nobody saying nothing. Because he was... Alan McElroy was not a good man. You're dating a gal and then you marry her daughter when she's 15. The mother had to sign off on that, the parents. But he should have been in prison for that right there. 15 years old, that's a baby. Not back in the days when we were settling this country and everything, but nowadays that's a baby. 15 back in the settler days, that wasn't a baby, but they grew up quicker, they grew up rougher, and they started getting married and having kids younger because life expectancy wasn't all that long. And a 15-year-old back then had a much more mature, they were much more mature because they had to grow up quickly. It was a matter of survival for them and their family. 15-year-old nowadays, they don't want to think that they are, but they're children. But I was thinking, I did that video the other day about doing my videos must not have been what God wanted me to do. And I got to thinking, maybe it is what God wanted me to do. Maybe I got a little sidetracked. I started talking about politics instead of focusing on God and what God did for me and telling my story. So, that being said, we're going to reset, and I am going to tell my story beginning to end and what I feel God did for me and all of that, and then we are done. It's a done deal. Then I'll do some videos for my children and family members and friends for when I'm gone, and that'll be that. Then I won't be doing any more videos. I'll just be getting on YouTube to say hi to people that I've met and grown to like and respect and support their channels, and I will be finished with my YouTube. Maybe I've always felt that's what God wanted me to do, and my instincts have been pretty good about what I felt God wanted me to do. So maybe it is what he wanted me to do, but maybe the way I got sidetracked talking about other stuff. Maybe he said, maybe it's his way of saying, hey, jackass, you're not doing what I want you to do. You're getting sidetracked. You're taking a long way around the barn, Mark. So we're going to reset and try again. That being said, I was born at St. John Mercy Hospital here in St. Louis. That's Lambert Airport right there. And whenever I was brought home literally, not exaggerating, about 5 blocks that way, right through there, is where we lived, my dad and my mom. And their marriage ended, when I was about 7 or so. But in the meantime, that house right over there, my Uncle Steve shot and killed himself in that house. They didn't have people back then that would come in and clean that up, companies and stuff. So my Aunt Debbie and my Uncle Rick cleaned that mess up. He lived a few days and ended up dying in the hospital. We lost my Uncle Steve. Mom and Dad divorced, and my mother moved in right up here on the right hand side. You can see apartments up here. It's up past that last hotel on the right there. There's some apartments. Now where that hotel sits is where the apartment was that we lived in with my mother after my mom and dad divorced. And you can see right over there the apartments. They look just like them. They're boarded up now, a lot of them. But we lived in those apartments, and we lived with my mother from like, let me think about this. I want to be accurate. So I was about 5. We moved in there. So about 4th grade, I guess. And she was violently raped by a man that used to babysit us. He was one of Yolanda's friends. Yolanda was a friend of my mother's. As a matter of fact, Yolanda's daughter was my first girlfriend. And she's the first person I ever got in a fight over. I went to a bunch of schools, 1st through 8th grade, but I was going to Iveland School in St. Louis here and Home Heights School, and somebody called her the N-word. And I said, don't call her that, because my mother raised me not to say that word. My mother raised me that you judge a man by his character, not by the color of his skin. And this kid punched me in the stomach, and I backed down. And I'll never forget it. I laid in that bed all night long, feeling sick to my stomach, like I was a coward. And the next day I went to school, and I beat the ever-living shit out of that boy. Kicked his ass good. It was just grade school ass kicking. When boys are in grade school, now in the inner city it's different. In the inner city you got grade school kids here in St. Louis shooting each other on a regular basis. Back in my days, shit was done with your fist. And in grade school, there'd be a fight. There really wasn't much damage. Damage didn't start until high school because all the boys, that testosterone starts flowing. And that testosterone is a real thing. And when that testosterone starts flowing, that's when the fights get more serious and there's a hell of a lot more damage done. Hold on a second, I gotta turn this damn heater down or I'm gonna blow myself out here. But Mom was raped there in them apartments. And I never knew she was raped. I was just a kid, I didn't even know what that was. I do remember the police being there. They had them giant walkie-talkies back down. It was loud. I remember the bloody mattress. And I remember my Uncle Rick was there, my dad's brother. He come over to support my mother when that happened. My Uncle Rick, all through my life, in the bad times, he was always there. When Steve killed himself, they cleaned it up. Mom and Dad divorced. Rick and Deb let my dad live there until he got back on his feet, because after the divorce, my father had no parental rights whatsoever. None. He'd had no visitation rights, nothing. And you gotta screw up pretty bad for that to happen. And I'm not going to go into their marriage, but let's just say my father was not the perfect husband by any stretch of the imagination. And my mother left him, and I don't blame her for that. But I was a kid. I can remember some of the stuff going on whenever I was a kid. But when you're a child, you don't have an adult mind. You don't understand adult things. I never knew my mother was violently raped. And the guy that hurt my mother like that, he said if my mother called the police, he'd come back and kill me and my little brother Kenny. So my mother, to protect us, because she did go to the police, she sent my brother and I to live with my father and my stepmother. My stepmother, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can, is a very insecure woman. And her and my father argued all the time. The relationship is toxic. It was and it still is. But me and my brother Kenny, we weren't her kids. And I know she didn't like us being around because when they were arguing, I'd always hear her yelling about Sheila's kids. Sheila's kids. Sheila's kids. And all I'm going to say about what went on in that house was my father is a very physical man, and she is a very insecure woman, and there was a lot of physical stuff that went on in that house, getting my ass kicked and stuff, but the worst was the mental abuse. The mental abuse was horrific. The mental abuse consisted of stuff like, I can close my eyes to this day and I could see her with her teeth gritted, snarled up lips, and just hate in her eyes, telling me, your mother did not love you. She couldn't handle you. You gave her stomach aches, and that's why you ended up here with us. Which was not true. My mother sent us there for our protection. I understand you don't tell a child that his mother, what had happened to my mother, but to tell a child whose mother was violently raped, your mother didn't love you, she didn't want you, you gave her stomach aches, and that's why you ended up here with us. And not just once, many times. And the stress and the things that went on in that house were so bad that my brother started spitting blood. Well, since my father had no parental rights whatsoever, he couldn't even take us to the doctor. My mother took my brother to the doctor, and I know this for a fact. I was with her. And the doctor said, what is going on in this child's household? And my mother said, why? He lives with his father. And the doctor said, this child has 2 bleeding ulcers. Do you understand the amount of stress it takes to cause 2 bleeding ulcers? Well, my mom decided at that point she was yanking us up out of that house. I was in 8th grade. My brother's 2.5 years younger than me. So I was 13, he was 11. An 11-year-old boy had 2 bleeding ulcers. I took the brunt of the physical but both of us went through a lot of serious mental abuse. Real bad. We walked on eggshells all the time. When they would argue, I would lay in bed and I would just shake at night because I knew if my name kept coming up, I was going to get drug out of bed and beat all over that house. And she's just a very spiteful, hateful person. And I mean, so much so, my Aunt Debbie, the one that introduced her to my father, they both worked together at Southwestern Bell. Last time I saw my Aunt Debbie, she had Alzheimer's. And my Uncle Bobby said, Mark, I don't even know if she'll remember you. She's starting to really forget things. As soon as I walked in the door, she got this big smile on her face. And she said, Mark, Andrew, come here. And she gave me a big old hug. And we were talking, had a wonderful day. She was real lucid and with it that day. And when I was getting ready to leave, she said, Mark, do you know what my biggest regret in my entire life was? And this is a woman in her 80s. And I said, no, what, Aunt Debbie? And she said that I introduced that fucking bitch to your father. Aunt Debbie was my protector. When I would walk in a room at a family get-together and my stepmom would be talking about what a bad kid I was, my Aunt Debbie would always pull me aside and she would say, don't you listen to her, Mark Andrew. We love you. When Mom and Dad got divorced, my dad lived with my Uncle Rick and Aunt Deb, and he would get us on the weekends. Even though he had no parental rights, my mother still allowed him to see us. When they were together, the abuse wasn't towards us, you know, so she felt that we were safe with him. My dad, the physical, there were times I had an ass whooping coming. But there were also times when I didn't. And I would just get drug out of bed and beat all over the house because my name kept coming up. And then while he's kicking me and telling me to get my ass back in bed, he's yelling at her, are you happy now? You happy now? And I mean, there was days that their fights would go on literally. I'm not exaggerating, 3 days. And my father was a union carpenter. He'd be working. I remember one time, the 2 nights before, all night long, they're just screaming and yelling at each other, just all night. And, you know, being a carpenter, that's a hard job, physically. And he hadn't slept in 2 nights. He come home that 3rd day, and he said, don't say a fucking word, I'm going to sleep. And he was walking down towards the master bedroom, down the hall. She ran past him screaming, ran up in the bedroom, locked the door, and he put his fist right through the damn door, unlocked it, punched her dead in the mouth, and she come running down the hall screaming, holding her face, ran out, got in the minivan, left, and it got quiet in that house. I walked down the hall like 5 minutes later. The old man didn't even take his carpenter whites off, didn't even take his work clothes off. Mud, sawdust all over him, dirty as hell, laying on the bed sleeping. And you know, some men will say, oh, well, if a woman's going to be like that, maybe she deserves a punch in the mouth. But if a woman's going to be like that, you should leave her, not punch her in the mouth. But to this day, their relationship is still toxic. And by toxic, I mean, I've never seen a more dysfunctional relationship in my life. Nobody in the family could stand her, so I know it's not just me. Nobody could stand her. And shit. Just fucked the pooch on that. But my Uncle Bobby told me when they first got together, it did not take long for my family to realize this bitch has got a problem. She talks out the side of her mouth, and she's very good at what she does. She will say shit to you outside of her mouth when nobody else is around to witness it. Her own family, her own mother told my father when they got together, and I know this for a fact because my father told me. When they got together, her mother said, "Do you know what you are doing? She is not right in the head." And they like to blame me for their problems. And anybody that's ever studied psychology, psychiatry, when you have a dysfunctional family like that, you have what's called a scapegoat. And that's me. I was the whipping boy. I was the scapegoat, the one they could blame everything on. They talk about what a bad kid I was. Up till the point I moved in with my mother. I mean, I was with a kid one day that stole some fishing lures. I didn't know he was going to steal them. My friend Mike Homewood in grade school. And he put some fishing lures in his pocket. And I didn't say, "Oh, he's stealing. And we got caught going out the door. And I got hit with guilt by association. Because I was with him and I didn't snitch on him, I got in trouble. They'll talk about that. I got into the liquor cabinet once, and I was forging. I had a little hustle going. I went to like 6 different schools, kindergarten through 8th grade. But at the one school, we would have to get our tests signed by our parents if we got a bad grade. And over the course of the first half of the year, I had collected each one of the kids in my classes' mom and dad's signature. When they got the test, they'd show the teacher the test that it was signed. I would tear the signature off of the test. And then when they needed a test signed, I would just trace their mother and father's signature from all the signatures I had in this envelope. And I was making some pretty good money doing that. But I got caught eventually, and I got my ass whooped for it. But, I mean, really, that's the only trouble I got in. I was a normal kid. I rode my bike, I jumped ramps, I fished, I played soccer, I was on the swim team. I mean, I was just a regular fucking kid. And they always telling me how bad I am. I remember one time I said, "I think I might be a priest when I grow up." And they both started laughing hysterically. They thought that was the funniest thing they ever heard. But she always resented me and my brother Kenny because she was insecure of my mother. And let's face it, it takes a pretty malicious woman, knowing that a child's mother was raped, knowing that's why we went to live with her and my dad, to tell that child, your mother doesn't love you, your mother doesn't want you, she can't handle you, you give her stomach aches, that's why you live here with us. That's just vicious. It's vicious. And my father never corrected her. So I believed it was true because my dad said he would never lie to us. He'd always tell us the truth. Well, he didn't. And I'll stay here. Fuck them. They don't want to let me over. I won't let you in here, then. So we lived there and we went through that shit for 3.5 years until my brother started spitting blood. And then my mother, she decided she was going to yank us out of there. Well, now you got to understand that I was told my mother didn't love me, didn't want me. I was told by my father he wouldn't lie to me. I knew things were bad in that house. It was miserable. We walked on eggshells constantly. But I felt like, well, my mother doesn't love me. At least my father loves me. And I'll never forget the night we got over to my mom's over here on the east side of St. Louis. I called my dad and I said, Dad, I don't want to be here. I want to come home. And the only reason I said that is because I was led to believe my mother didn't love me. And I'll never forget it. My dad said, Mark, I can't let you come back home because he said my stepmother had said that if me and Kenny came back to that house, then she was going to take my half-brother, because her and my dad had a child together whenever I was in like 7th grade. So Josh was like 1.5 years old. And she told my father that if he took us back in the house, she was going to take my brother Josh and leave. And I hung the phone up when I got off the phone with my dad, and I walked in and I told my mother, I said, I am going to make your life a living hell. And that is when everything started. Originally, it started out, I was trying to act out because I thought if I acted out, she would send me back to my dad's. And what happened was it snowballed very quickly. Very quickly. I started running with a pretty rough crowd, and that anger I had inside of me from all the mental stuff as a kid, it just started growing. And it wasn't before long, 15 and a half, I was put in my first drug rehab. I was running, if I wasn't from like 15 and a half until I was 25, 26 years old. Well, till 18, I was either on the run, running away, or I was locked up in some institution. I had been in Weldon Springs Mental Institution 3 times. I've been in St. Elizabeth's Nut Ward 1 time when I tried killing myself. I was in care unit on Grand Avenue for drug rehab, Highland Center for drug rehab, Youth in Need. They were talking about Boys and Girls Town in Missouri, maybe. The last place I got put in was, or I was running away from home. At 15 and a half, I'd disappear for weeks, months until they found me. One time when they put me in Weldon Springs the 3rd time, and Weldon Springs was a lockdown mental institution. They had me on lithium and a bunch of other drugs, but when I would snap and lose my temper, they would shoot me up with Thorazine. The 2nd and 3rd time I was there, they kept me on Thorazine full time because they knew every time they let me off that Thorazine, I would physically attack somebody. And finally what happened, this is kind of a long story, but this gal invited me down to her room. She wanted to fuck. She's good looking. So I had the guys in the room next to me act like they were fighting. And when the nurses ran down the hall from the nurse station up into that room to see what was going on, I snuck down the hall up in this gal's room. We're all kissing. She's rubbing on me. And she goes, take your clothes off. As soon as I get my clothes off, this bitch starts screaming rape. So I jumped up, and they had like a hospital wardrobe thing there for your clothes. I jump up in there. Nurse comes in the room, goon squad's on the way. And she goes, he's in the closet, he's in the closet. So I jump out of the closet, I'm asshole naked. I start running down the hall, goon squad's chasing me. I get about halfway down the hall, and I look and I see those two big steel doors. And I stop thinking, where the fuck are you gonna run to? And just as I stopped, this fucking goon hits me from behind and tackles me. Now I got a rug burnt dick, and I am pissed off like a motherfucker. So they strap me down, shoot me in the ass with Thorazine, out I go. Next morning, they let me out of the room they had me restrained in, and we had a group. So I go in the group, and this counselor says, Jennifer has something she would like to say to the group. And this girl that lied on me, and now I got a rug burnt dick, says, yeah, he didn't really try to rape me. I was just kidding. He. I got up and punched that fucking bitch dead in the fucking mouth. Mark strapped down again, needle in the ass. They kept me in the restraining room fucking till the next day. Next day, here comes group again. Until this day, I hate group counseling. There's a guy that was in there that would literally run down the hall, jumping in the air, trying to grab bugs. Shit that wasn't there. He's the only one that could see the shit. Well, he starts telling me what I need to do, how I need to act. I said, fuck you, motherfucker. You run down the hall chasing shit that ain't even there. I don't need no fucking advice from you. And we got an argument. The counselor managed to get us to quit arguing, and we go to lunch. I sit down, got my tray and everything. I sit down. He comes up behind me and pushes the back of my head and said something smart ass to me. But where he made his mistake was, after he did that, he sat down directly behind me with his back to me, like I wasn't going to respond to that shit. They used to have these napkin holders like at Steak and Shake, where it's chrome on both sides and you can pull napkins out of both sides, and it was black hard metal in the middle. I took the napkin holder off our table and I took it to his head. And I was smashing this dude in the head with this big napkin holder. When the goons pulled me off of him, he was unconscious, and there was a bunch of blood all over the floor by his head. Ambulance came, took him to the hospital, and I didn't know this till years later, but my mother said they called her, and they said, you need to come get your son. And Mom said, what do you mean I need to come get my son? And they said, we cannot control him here. We just had a boy sent out to the hospital. You need to come get your son. And my mother told me that she said to them, you are a lockdown mental institution. You have him on major tranquilizers, and you can't control him. She said, he is 155 pounds and he slings my 240-pound husband all over this house. What the hell am I supposed to do with them? And that's when caseworkers and stuff suggested she sign me over to the state of Illinois. And at about almost 17 years old, I became a ward of the state of Illinois. And there's a lot of other things that happened in there in that time period. For whenever I moved over on the east side is when I started hanging out in the biker bars and hanging out with a real rough crowd. I've known 7 people I used to run with that have done time or been convicted of murder. For some reason, I sought out the roughest group that were into some crazy shit. And it got real crazy for a while. Then I finally got sent to be a ward of the state till I turned 18. And I'll pick up from there when I get back. There's all kinds of shit I did before I was 18. Fighting, partying, sex, just crazy stuff. But the worst is yet to come. I mean, it got way more crazy than that. So I'm just kind of giving you a rough overview of my life. And I was put on Ritalin at 3 years old. And until about 4.5 years ago when I got off of heroin, I was on either a psych drug from doctors or a street drug that I put in my body. I've got about 7.5 years out of 57 years on this earth that I've been clean. The rest of the time I had some chemical in me, either from a doctor or from, street drugs, self-medicating. And the reason I did drugs and alcohol, point blank, is to cover pain, to cover hurt. I was too much of a pussy to deal with the pain I was feeling, and I've always converted my hurt into anger. Anger was an emotion I understood, I could deal with it. I grew up with anger all around me and violence. So I would convert any hurt into anger, and I think that's the way we all are. If you stub your toe in the middle of the night, it hurts. You want to put your fist through the wall. Somebody says something hurtful to you, the first reaction is strike back. I think anger comes from being physically hurt or mentally hurt. But I'm going to hop off here. I picked Johnny up. My brothers do not like cameras. I'll talk to you. That cracks me up. On his apartment here, the neighbor's got a sign that says welcome. Johnny's got a sign that says go away. Go on, get. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.